Kia ora. Welcome again to the Cross-Border Kōrero. It is my great pleasure to introduce Xin Ren, who is from the University of Canterbury, and she has a role as a Senior International Student Advisor. Welcome, Xin. It's lovely to have you on the Kōrero with us.
Hello, Chris.
Right, so we're going to go straight in and just ask you a little bit about your role at the university, then ask about the nature of your PhD, which was fascinating and yielded some fascinating results around coping, the way students cope, and then just touch on our Sustainable Growth Symposium, which will be hosted by UC, the University of Canterbury, on June 29th. You'll be participating as part of a panel, investigating international student mental health and well-being. So really looking forward to this. So I'll ask you the first question. Xin, can you just talk a little bit about your role at the University of Canterbury?
No problem. Thank you, Chris. I am currently a Senior International Support Advisor working in a student care team at University of Canterbury. So my daily role including supporting international students with all sorts of challenges, including mental health and well-being related. I'm also a trained cognitive behavioral therapist, so I work really closely with my colleagues from UC Health Centre and also wonderful colleagues in the community, try to create a holistic support system for a lovely international student at UC.
Wow, well, it's a very good thing that UC nabbed you for that role, Xin. That was quite a coup for them. That's fantastic. That's so good. Could you talk a little bit about your PhD and just some the inquiry in the PhD and what were some of the interesting findings?
Absolutely. So my PhD was in educational psychology and focused in higher education sector. So it's mainly broadly on students' academic achievement and their outcome and how these are shaped by students' psychological well-being, students' motivation, sense of belongingness, and their learning experiences in different educational and learning environments. So what originally drew me to study this topic in EdPsych was actually my own lived experience as an international student. So through that
Ah,
experience, I yeah,
mm,
I got to
mm,
understand that learning is actually not purely academic and cognitive. And I think
mm,
how students learn is actually deeply impacted by how we feel and whether we feel safe, we feel connected or supported, especially in a far away country. And also, I think students' experience of their own identity in the community in New Zealand is actually really, really important. So, as I mentioned, I'm currently working as a senior advisor at UC. So, in my current work, while I'm supporting international students, I see these themes emerge in my everyday practice as well. I think many international students are always navigating multiple layers of challenges and like we said, they're cross-border learners. They're crossing multiple borders. They might be adjusting to
mm,
different academic systems, could be very different from their home country, adapting to a new cultural context, try to overcome language barriers. They might be navigating financial pressures and they're having, family expectations while family is so far away from them. And it is very common that these students are also having significant loneliness and uncertainty. And I think there's one thing that I constantly observe in my work is that many cross-border learners, they can appear really highly competent, highly capable, and highly functional
yeah,
externally.
mm,
But internally, they might be carrying significant amount of pressure and silence.
mm,
So my PhD or my research background in psych really gave me a good framework for understanding all that and how's that actually a dynamic, that well-being relationship with the community, experience in different learning environment, all shaping students' ability to engage, to learn and to thrive in New Zealand. And also I think as a cognitive behavioral therapist, I try really hard to when I support international students who are struggling, I think beyond as an isolated mental health or well-being issue, and I want to think more holistically about whether we are creating a system, an environment that is genuinely support students, and whether we are making the environment for them to let students feel psychologically safe and they feel comfortably engaged with us.
Wow. And you noticed there were some interesting coping strategies that students would use that helped them to make that adjustment and transition. Did you see some interesting behaviors and strategies there?
Yes, I did. So from my research, I think surprisingly, we found out international students, they are leaning more on the help-seeking behavior, which turns out to be
Mm,
one of the most efficient coping strategies and can significantly reduce student level of stress and burnout. And because
yeah,
my PhD research was conducted back in COVID, and we found that
yeah.
international students reported a higher sense of belongingness compared to domestic
Mm,
student back then, which I think is actually
fascinating. Wow.
highlighted
Mm,
the amazing job our providers are doing because institutions for international students is a place they foster a sense of belongingness, connection, and find their own community. I just find that this research really also just is really meaningful to me as well as a practitioner.
yeah, that's great. So it's really good to hear and get a sense they were being pragmatic, resourceful during that lockdown period. And
Yes.
that's fantastic. And because we know from other literature that there have been patterns of perhaps going to family at home first or to other friends first. So it's encouraging to see some help-seeking behavior, from local student services. Um,
Yes.
Xin, I've said that this is a short kōrero. We are delighted to have you participating in our International Education Sustainable Growth Symposium, hosted by the university on June 29th. And you'll be participating in a multidisciplinary panel that includes a psychiatrist and a practice nurse. So
Yes.
we're delighted about that. And so, come and grab your tickets because we know this is going to be a very valuable panel discussion. And valuable whether you're in this tertiary space or in the school space, or if you have other related interests, some stakeholder interest, come and join us. If you were to bring one reflection or one question to this panel discussion, and we know that presently it is a bit of a pressure point from some data sources. If we want to really be proactive, inventive, tailored in our support of international students, what's one question or reflection you think that you might bring, Xin, to the panel discussion?
I I think a topic that would be really, really valuable for this multidisciplinary panel and also for our audiences will be let's think about one of the challenges, a really common challenge, including universities as well, is we are often still rely on a relatively one size fits for all support model
Yeah,
for
yeah,
all
yeah.
student
Mm,
cohorts. And sometimes what will happen is we wait till students reach out to us until they're in a point of crisis before our support system becomes visible to our students. But
mm.
it is important to know that by that stage, the academic, emotional, and some relational impacts are already really significantly built. So I think we should really move
Okay.
to a more, yeah, intentionally towards a preventative approach, like you just said, Chris,
Mm,
rather than
mm.
sometimes what I would call is just our service sometimes feels like it's an ambulance at the bottom of the cliff.
Yeah, yeah. So you're talking about,
Yes,
sorry, you're talking about loading at the front end, sort of early
yes,
interventions early in the
exactly.
student sojourn. Okay. Oh, good. Wow.
Exactly. And also I think
Yeah.
what's really important in the process of building that preventative system is that we need to make sure the system is culturally responsive. Um, I can
Yeah.
see a lot of
Yeah.
effort has already been made throughout the sector,
Mm, mm,
but I think it's
mm.
more than simply translating the service information. I think it's actually
Yes.
helping
Yeah.
help our practitioners to build our understanding from different cultural nuances and attitudes towards, like we said, the
Mm,
help-seeking behavior, adaptive coping strategies, and how students are used to talk about mental well-being, or were they used to
Mm,
talk about it at all? And from there, we can design a support system that students feel genuinely connected with, and they will feel safely and comfortably engaged with.
mm, mm.
Mm.
Wow. Well, look, uh, this is such a fascinating discussion, Shin. Part of me would think, I wish we could snap you up and take you with us in our traveling roadshow, discussing what sustainable growth looks like. But, you've been snapped up by UC, but we've got you for June 29th. So which is fantastic, which we're excited about. Thank you for sharing your reflections and just skimming across the top of your expertise. Really looking forward to being together, continuing the Kōrero in person, June 29th, at the University of Canterbury. Shin, thank you so much. Kia
You're
ora, uh,
welcome. Yes, kia
ka,
ora.
ka, ka kite, and I'll see you soon.
See you soon, Chris. Thank you.